It's summer, and the box has been on your porch since 9 in the morning. You open it, and the ice bag is a bag of warm water. And your first thought is, oh crap, that's a few $100s straight down the bin. A couple of weeks back, I said your vial might have arrived dead. And a lot of you came back with the obvious follow-up question. Fine, but how warm is too warm and for how long? Right, let's actually answer that question today. And I'll tell you now where this ends up, because it really surprised me. The thing that has probably done more damage to your peptide than any delivery driver ever has is in your kitchen. You use it every day. So stick around and I'll tell you towards the end. And before we get started, welcome back to Peptide Corner. I'm Tom, a chartered chemical process engineer, which basically means I've spent years being the person that asked that question, and what temperature was it at exactly? At parties. And before my legal team confiscate my tablet again, I have to tell you this video is for educational and research purposes only, not medical advice. And you know the deal, if you find this video useful, please smash that like, hit subscribe and click the bell icon. It genuinely helps us a lot and tells the YouTube algorithm to show it to the next person. Right, first things first, and this is where most of the panic is misdirected. There are two completely different things in that box depending on what you're asking. Dry powder and solution, and they're not remotely the same problem. The freeze-dried powder is far tougher than people fear. That's the entire reason it's freeze-dried. The formulation literature is blunt about it. Solid formulations exist to specifically survive storage, transport, and handling. That's their job. As for the solution that ends up in your fridge, that's far more fragile than people think. So the honest version is almost the opposite to the panic. The parcel is usually the robust stage. The bit you're relaxed about in the fridge is the delicate one. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't think a warm parcel is fine. It just means the question isn't, was it warm? Everything gets warm. The question is the one the industry actually asks. And just quickly while we're here, a melted ice pack is not a verdict. That's not what it failed at. An ice pack isn't there to arrive frozen. It's there to buy you hours. It absorbed heat the entire time it was melting. Arriving as warm water just means it spent itself doing precisely the job it was there to do. And then you always get someone who says, mine turned up with no cold pack at all and it worked perfectly fine. Sure, that's completely consistent with everything I just said, because it was a powder. What it isn't is evidence about the vial sitting in your fridge right now as a solution. Now keep in mind, Big Pharma ships this stuff around the planet constantly, and boxes get warm constantly. So how do they decide whether a shipment is still any good? They use something called mean kinetic temperature. And here's the thing that makes it really clever. It's not an average. An average would let a lovely cold night cancel out a brutal hot afternoon. And chemistry doesn't work like that. Reaction rates climb exponentially with temperature. So mean kinetic temperature weighs the hot hours massively more heavily than the cold ones. What that is an average that's been told the truth about the chemistry. And what that does, it reframes your porch entirely. You're not asking, did it break the rules? You're asking how much time at a temperature did it accumulate? And against what budget? Which brings up the part nobody expects. Because when the industry wants to know whether a product survives real-world distribution, they don't just run it hot once and check. So what do they actually do? They run thermal cycling studies. Warm, cold, deliberately repeated. Because the thing they're worried about isn't the one dramatic afternoon. It's the accumulation of all of those ordinary ones. Now, how much budget each molecule has depends again on which molecule it is, which is exactly why I put together the stability field manual, profile by profile. It's on our website if that's useful for you, and I'll link it for you below. So this is just cumulative exposure, and every process engineer thinks the exact same way. You never ask, did it go out of spec once? You ask, how much time at temperature has this accumulated over its whole life? Because damage adds up and it never subtracts. And that finally brings me back to your kitchen. More specifically, the fridge door. You open it what, 6 to 8 times a day? For months? Every single one of those is a small warm cycle we just talked about, for whatever is sitting in your door shelf. Your porch delivery was one event, but that door is a habit. And over a few months, that habit quietly wins. Which is why the back of the fridge is worth more to you than any ice pack ever was. So the bottom line is this: stop interrogating the delivery driver and start interrogating that door shelf. One warm afternoon is a rounding error next to 4 months of opening a door. The boring, repeated thing beats the dramatic one. It usually does. So please be honest with me in the comments below. Is yours in the door shelf, or have you got yours at the back of the fridge? And also, while we're at it, has anyone actually had a parcel turn up genuinely hot and then work perfectly fine regardless? Tell me all about it. And if you want to catch the one before this, the 4 things that everyone checks in a vial and why almost none of them tell you anything, I'll also link it for you here. Everything else is on our website, peptidecorner.net, so go check it out. Until next time, keep safe, keep skeptical, and I'll see you right back here on Peptide Corner.